Okay, good morning. It's 10:30, so let's get started. Thank you for joining us. We are very excited today to be talking to you about all of the things you can be doing to stay confident and positive during your job search. Obviously, this is a topic that is affecting a lot of people at the moment, and we do appreciate the challenging and stressful time that this can be. So we have on hand today two experts that are going to be guiding us through all of the things you can be doing to keep positive, stay focused, and not let those negative mindsets creep in. So I'm Hayley, I'm the Director of Sales at Needs and Neat, and I'm going to head over to Raina now for a short intro. Good morning, Raina.
Good morning. Hello, everyone.
How are we doing?
I'm good. I'm just not used to talking to people I can't see, which is...
Do you want to start by giving us an introduction to yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Raina Kalhan. My company is called The Best of Me NLP. I'm an NLP life coach and hypnotherapist, and I specialise in women and young people to help them overcome stress, anxiety, and a lack of confidence. So 3 techniques: NLP, hypnotherapy, and life coaching in that. So
perfect. Great to have you here today, Raina.
Thank you.
And over to you, John. Good morning.
Hi, Hayley. Good morning. So I'm John Prince, and I'm a life and mindset coach. And I currently help people develop the core inner confidence that they need to do what they love. And most importantly, I believe, love who they are. I think a lot of it is about being comfortable with ourselves. And then once we've got to that place, we can then bring that into all the different situations we go in. I previously was a professional poker player and navigated a lot of the kind of challenges and uncertainty that comes through playing poker professionally. And that sparked my interest in psychology and finding out what drives us to behave the way we do. And then after making some changes in my own life, I decided I wanted to help other people do the same too. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Fantastic. Again, great to have you with us. And I love your business name, The Perception Coach.
Yes.
Tell me about that. How did that come about?
I was thinking, actually, it was ages ago when I first started, and I set up an Instagram page, and I was sharing videos and posts and all sorts of stuff. And I wanted to name the page, and I was thinking of all these different names. And then perception really stood out for me because I think that's at the heart of it all. You know, we're all seeing the world in our own unique way. And I think once we can take control of how we are seeing things and line it up with who we want to be and what we want to do, that's where all the magic happens. So I set the name as The Perception Coach, and then that became the name for my business as well. So it all kind of stemmed from there, really.
Fantastic. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. Just a quick reminder for those of you that have just logged in, we've got a Q&A box running along the bottom. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions that you may have. We're here to help. So today we're going to be diving into a variety of different topics, but we're going to be starting with the very important area of mindset. So John, tell me a bit about mindset, and obviously this is a super important area, but in terms of job searches, what's the best kind of advice you can give in terms of mindset within the job search?
So really the thing about mindset is it's our frame of mind when we're in a situation. And our frame of mind gets changed by the situation that we're in. You know, and when we go into a job search, we can see that situation from lots of different ways. It can be frustrating or difficult, or we don't want to do it, and we can be in that mindset. And when we're there, it can demotivate us. So getting ourselves into a mindset that serves us, helps us motivate ourselves, and also creates an environment for confidence within us is just such an important thing. So we've got our mindset, which is kind of our frame of mind in the moment, and we will have that day in, day out. And yes, our confidence will get knocked and it will get shifted, but we can bring it back, which is great. And then underneath that is the beliefs that we have. And these are some of the core beliefs that run our lives. So they work interchange between the two, but as we get our mindset on point, then we can start to get our beliefs on point as well, and move it in the direction that we want. So, you know, especially if you're in a job search, is keeping that positive over a long period of time.
And what about when it comes to interviews? Obviously they can be tricky, they can be nerve-wracking. require a lot of preparation. Sometimes they go well, other times they don't. What about the mindset when it comes to that?
So I think one of the things from mindset is that we're going to be telling ourselves a story. And there's often three stories that we're telling ourselves. And the story's about me, so it's about us, it's about them, the other person, and it's about the situation. So if you imagine somebody who's going into an interview, they're going to have a story about, well, what are they going to be thinking about me? And then there's going to be a story of what do I think about them? And then there's a story about what do I think about interviews? You know, do I think that I enjoy interviews, or they're a scary thing, or they're an exciting thing? Now, going into the interview, the key here is to create those answers for ourselves, because when we go in with questions, it's a bit like our brain's like a Google search. So if we say, well, I wonder what this company's going to think about me, and our brain likes to search and search and search for answers. So it's going to say, well, maybe they'll like me, or maybe they won't like this about me. And it goes and goes and goes, and there's no closure, there's no clarity there. So that's what can create a lot of anxiety. So getting the mindset right on that can be answering the three questions for yourself. So if you're going into an interview, you can ask yourself, well, what will they think about me? And write down an answer that you want, because essentially we can't know until we go in. So you're right, well, I think they're going to believe I'm a good candidate. You know, I've got strong capabilities, and it comes down to the personal attributes you have to yourself. Then you can ask, what do I think about the company? Well, I think they're an exciting place that I'd love to be a part of. I think that I could bring my attributes to them. And then when it comes to what do I think about the situation of the interview itself, or being interviewed, I can, it's an exciting opportunity for me to challenge myself, for me to get out of my comfort zone. And when you write down those three answers, it gives you clarity to stop your brain searching, so that before you go in, you're not having to wonder, well, I wonder if they're going to like me or not. And then having all those questions just flying around, you can just decide for yourself, I really believe they're going to like me. Done. And it creates that closure, it creates more confidence, more clarity.
Love that. And I guess that could be rolled out into any kind of scenario, really. Doesn't have to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that I work with clients quite often is, what will people think about me? And you can see how these questions line up, because it's, well, I wonder if this person's going to like me. And you spend the whole interaction wondering. And if you let your brain answer, which quite often our brains go to a negative place because they want to look after us and protect us, and so, oh, well, they might not like me. So then we start looking for all those things. So once you decide yourself what that story is going to be, you can go in and you start to see more of that. And again, you can see how the mindset shapes our core beliefs, which really impacts, you know, how we show up in the world.
Fantastic. And Raina, your thoughts on that?
I'd agree completely, actually. I think we can take things very personally and make it about how we're feeling, what our perceptions are, and, you know, what is going on in our inner turmoil. And if we can see past that and see that there's a bigger picture in place, and that actually, you know, they've got reasons for doing what they're doing, and I've got my, you know, world that I'm living in, you know, everything starts to fall in place, because it becomes about you. And, you know, not being sensitive to what they're thinking, you know, being aware of what is important. What do you need to put in place that will work for you? What do you need to do that is going to get you to a good place and get you your job, or get you your interview, or whatever it is that you're working towards? So come from a place of not taking it personally, and, you know, just staying calm within the surface. I think it's very important to realize that you've got an inner landscape, and if your inner landscape is telling, you know, is very up and down, and, you know, you're creating an upset in there, you're not going to give the best of yourself. You're not going to project yourself as the person with all the skills that you need for whether it's an interview or whatever. So by calming that inner landscape and just coming to a peaceful place and approaching the situation in a way that works for you, I think it can be a very positive thing.
I think that's the thing with job hunting. it's very much, you know, there's this pressure built inside us, particularly if you're out of work, or you've been on furlough for a long time. I think that we, you know, potentially there might be some people joining today that are on furlough, and they're in this unknown period, which potentially might be coming to an end soon. So I think it's really important that you know, you think about you, and it's not about necessarily everyone else getting a job. It's more about focusing on what your path is. John, emotional management, tell me all about it.
Okay, so yeah, huge topic, but I'll try and dive into what I believe are the most important parts and applicable too. But yeah, essentially our thoughts create our feelings, and then our feelings create our actions. And it's how the thoughts play out, because we have automatic thoughts that happen really quickly, and then we have thoughts that we can control a little bit later down the line. But essentially it's meaning that creates feeling. So when it comes to emotions, there's something that we're making the situation mean that's creating that feeling. So we might perceive it as being scary or perceive it as being fun. And that's why one of the things, especially going into interviews, is we're going to be prepared for it. It's going to be, you know, we might get a bit nervous, but the way that we can interpret those nerves and the feelings that go through the body, we can see it as anxiety, or we can reframe it as excitement. So the same feelings are going to go through, because if we see something that essentially stress is the perception of threat in the body. So when we might see an interview as perhaps stressful, or even the job search itself as stressful. So when we think about it, there's that perception of threat. And what that does is it activates the sympathetic nervous system in the body, which increases our heart rate. It brings blood flow to the muscles, you know, breathing rate goes up. So, and our thinking shuts down a little bit when we're in those moments. This would be something I'd see at the poker table when the pot gets really big and lots of money goes in, the brain shuts down and people do some really silly things. So the key there is just regulating the breathing to control that nervous system. So when we can shift it from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system, that's when we can calm things down a little bit, start to get a bit more control of what we can see, and bring back control of our thinking as well. So one way that's really powerful to do this is to be able to just take deep breaths. It's as simple as that. But there's a couple of reasons why it's important. So first off, when we take the deep breaths, we're focusing on the breath, which is something that we can control and that's constant, not anything else that's going on around us. So it gives us a bit of stability and a bit of certainty. And then taking the breaths slows down the breathing and gives us more control of our mind. But with emotional regulation, when we see something that's a threat, our brain automatically just deems it as a threat, and then it kicks that nervous system off, the sympathetic one. So all of the stuff going on in our body. And then our body is in a state of fight, flight, or freeze. So it sends a message back to our brain, and then our brain says, oh, well, we're preparing for battle, so then we need to go into that. So breaking the cycle between mind and body is a great way to regulate the emotions. So if we can stop that going backwards and forwards and focus on the breath, it can stop the chain and then allow us to control things a little bit more. Because essentially is 10% of the threat is what's coming in, and 90% of it is our interpretation of it.
Really interesting. I wonder if that's such a good exercise for people to be thinking about in these challenging times, and potentially, particularly, I guess, at interviews. Okay, so what about actually the strategy itself in terms of creating a way where you are defining what are the right steps for you in your job search and what the best possible outcome is going to be, in that whole positive mindset alongside that? What are our key things that we're looking for with the strategy?
So a strategy for perhaps creating a system or something in place to be able to move forward. So again, it's that there's lots of things that are outside of our control in the job search. We can control what we do to get a job, but we can't control what the people are going to say or what's going to happen or anything beyond that. So it's setting the goal first off of what we want to achieve. It might be that you want to achieve getting a job, or preparing yourself for that. Once the goal is established, it's putting all of our focus onto the process that's going to get us towards the goal, and creating a structure around doing that. So a really fun way to shift it out of being a chore is to turn it into a challenge. So it's creating something that makes it a challenge. So what I would do, one of the things I do with my clients when they have a goal is I have them map out the steps they need to take. So for example, say you want to create a job, you might need to interview for 30 interviews or 20 interviews, or apply for 30 jobs in order to get that job. So I'd have create a image that you can see. Like one thing that one of my clients did was a thermostat, and you could have, say, 30 rungs on it. And once you've done 5, give yourself a reward. But that's where you can see the progress being made in the process rather than the result. Because once you go and apply for 5 jobs and nothing's happening for you, it can feel like you've not made that progress.
Yeah.
And as Tony Robbins says, progress equals happiness. So if we can see ourselves moving forward, even when we're not getting the results, it can still help motivate us. So setting out that can be really good. The next step as well, I'd say, which is really important, is planning the day the night before, because we get to create structure for the day the next day. As Jim Rohn says, either you run the day or the day runs you. So if you plan your day the night before, time block it out. So I like to use 1 hour. So you do 9 till 10, 10 till 11, 11 till 12. And plan out what you're going to do. And it's going to give you some certainty of what tomorrow is going to look like, rather than when we get up and we're unsure, and then the day starts to run us and everything's kind of spiraling out of control. So planning it the night before can give you that certainty. Another thing I recommend is planning out even things like what you're going to have to eat, what you're going to wear the next day. All of these things reduce the amount of decisions that you're going to have to make. And there's decision fatigue, which is a big thing as well, which can impact our stress levels. So the more decisions you have to make during a day, especially when you're under stress, the more depleted you're going to be in energy. We go out for a run, that's physical energy. We make a decision, that's also energy that we're using. So the less decisions you can make, the more energy you're going to have, the more confident you're going to feel. So planning the day out, getting your food sorted, getting your clothes sorted, all the little decisions you don't have to make. If you have childcare, it's making sure all of that is in place the day before, so that you don't have to think about it on the day and add stress levels. So that can really help.
Yeah, I must admit, since we spoke last week, John mentioned this to me, and I did try it, and I can absolutely confirm that it does help you sleep better at night, knowing that you've got everything sorted for the morning. Raina, what are your thoughts around that technique, that exercise?
About preparing the day before?
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's, for me, I'd say that it actually takes the stress out of it completely. I, on a personal level, if I've sorted all the niggly little bits out, like you said, the clothes, the food, and even preparing for an interview, if that's something that you need to do. Some people are impulsive, they can just go out and do it, and others need to prep for it. And if that helps you, if you need to write a set of questions down and practice, then do it. Because it's very much, people are different. Some people are auditory, others are kinesthetic, some are visual. So for some people to actually practice, if you're kinesthetic, you may need to actually feel it and see it and feel it and really experience it before you go into an interview. So prepping the day before, thinking of those questions and thinking of what sort of answers you may say, and even visualizing the situation, the interview or whatever you're in, it can help you deal with it, because when you're in that situation, everything just flows from your natural resources within you.
And of course, when we're getting to the point where we are securing the interviews, there is the difficult situation where you may have a setback, you may not get the job, you may have really wanted the job. How do we reset, John, that kind of part of the job hunting process?
So it's all about, again, realizing how much control we have over those setbacks once we experience them. Because it's our decisions about what we do, not the conditions that determine how we feel. So we're going to go in, you're going to apply for a job. If you don't get it, it will feel frustrating, and it will feel slightly painful when you get that. But once you got it, it's what you do with it that really counts. And there's what I believe is one of the most important studies that ever came out of psychology for me when it comes to mindset, optimism, and confidence. There was a study back in 1960s, a guy called Martin Seligman, who's like the king of positive psychology. And it's a bit of a nasty study at the time, but they had dogs in cages and they were shocking the dogs with electric shocks. And they didn't realize what they were going to find out, but what they found out from it really changed a lot of psychology when it came to how to overcome setbacks and what makes the difference with that. So what they did, they brought in two groups of dogs in two different cages, and they were shocked for 5 seconds. Now, the first group of dogs, they could put their nose onto a button at the end to stop the shocks. So as the shocks were going on their feet, they could press their nose on a button and it would stop the shocks entirely. The second group didn't have anything to stop it. So they took 5 seconds of shock, and then they got the shock, and that was it. There was nothing they could do to change the situation. Now, the next group, they put the two same groups of dogs back into two boxes, but there was a difference to the box this time. This time it was called a shuttle box, and there was a little board in the middle, and when the shock went off, they could jump over the board into a separate room to get away from the shocks. Now, when that happened, the first group that were able to press a button to stop the shock, almost all of them jumped over the side into safety. Pretty much all of them got out. But the second group that didn't have any way to stop the shock the first time, only a third of them made it out. And what they determined from this study was that the first group had learned to become helpless. They'd learned that when a bad situation happens, there was nothing they could do to change it. And what they demonstrate from the study, the most important point, is that when we face stressful situations that we think we can't control, it activates the defense and withdrawal parts of us, and people can give up easily. And when you realize that you can control the situation, that you can get yourself out of it, that changes everything. And so when we get the rejection from a job interview that you go for, and there's that feeling of like disappointment and rejection, we feel like, well, maybe I wasn't good enough, or maybe there's nothing I can do, then we want to give up. But the moment we realize that we can do something to change, we realize how much control we have. But it's knowing that just because we feel that disappointment, it doesn't mean we can't change, the same way that they're able to kind of jump out to freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Raina, that's a really interesting point. That study sounds very interesting. Raina, what about visualization and how that helps in terms of thinking that you are going to be successful, thinking that you are going to succeed at the interview, you are going to get the job? How do people start that? Is there any kind of basic tips that you could give people starting that today?
Yes, absolutely. I think if you're sort of worried about going into a situation, by visualizing a positive outcome and seeing the situation how you want it to work out, you can set the process in play. So perhaps start by putting yourself into a state of calm by taking some deep breaths in. There's something called either square or rectangular breathing, which is like breathing in to the count of 4, holding, releasing to the count of 4, holding, and then breathing in, and continuing in this manner. So that helps to sort of calm your body down. Once you've calmed your body down, just imagine the situation as it is. What are the fears that you're experiencing? Are you experiencing difficulties in this image if it's in the interview? What are you doing? What are you wearing? What do you look like? And if it's a negative, just imagine that negative fading away, that colour, the picture going dark, the colours going out, and instead vibrant colours coming in, bringing in feelings of comfort, success, feelings of empowerment, and just fill that with light and colour into that situation, and visualise all the positives that you can possibly think of. And you can imagine that the interview is going great, everything is going brilliantly, and nothing can take that away from you. And then just allow your breathing to relax again, and just come out of that with the positive feelings with you. There's another thing you can do, actually. If you have doubts about what is going to go wrong, or what might happen that is causing problems, you could imagine, or you could visualize looking into a mirror and seeing your best self in front of you. And that best self is the person you trust implicitly and has all the resources and all the strengths that you need. And imagine what they would say to you, what you need to do in that situation. What do you need to change? What will happen if you're feeling stressed? What can you do to really take control of that situation and make it work in a positive way? So use that best self to give you the answers. So that's another type of visualization you can do.
Oh, Raina, you've got such a relaxing voice.
You're asleep, aren't you? I get told that. I'm falling asleep listening to you because you're so relaxed.
Anything to add to that, John?
Yeah, I do agree. I think visualization is really powerful because, our brain's designed to keep us safe, and quite often it takes us down a negative path or the safe path, or it shows us all the things that we need to look out for and avoid. If somebody is fearful of dogs and somebody isn't, and they both walk into a park, who's going to see the dog first? It's going to be the person who's fearful of them. So when you're visualizing, it allows you to completely focus on the things that you want and put them into the forefront of your mind. But also think about it, because it's not that often that we might think about exactly how we want our day to map out. So thinking about how you want things to go, flood your consciousness with that, and then you're in, again, it can be a great way to reset your mindset and put you into that positive frame of mind. It's a little bit like when you are going for you want to buy a new car, and let's just say you've got a car in mind. It might be a Toyota and a red one, and then all of a sudden you're seeing these Toyotas everywhere because you've put that into your mind and made it important. And so once you're visualizing these things and the things that you want, and you put them in your mind, your brain starts scanning for it. The part of the brain, the reticulator activating system, scans for it, and it's like a filter, so it can start to look for the things that you want. And also, it changes how you feel. It gives you those feelings of, when I am confident, when I am things are going well, how do I feel? And it gives you a chance to experience that, so you can have more of it.
Brilliant. Okay. And Raina, what about when things aren't going so well? What about these coping mechanisms that we can put in place to help generally across the board, not necessarily with the job search, but perhaps if we could just talk generally?
Okay. So I think, especially now, there are so many things that are affecting us in Corona, whether it's our relationships, our work lives, our financial state. We're in a state of turmoil, and we're finding difficulty, stress and anxiety in everything. And when you feel stressed, like John said, it's your fight or flight response kicks in, and we feel threatened. If that stress is continually there, it can sort of overspill into anxiety, and it can cause panic attacks. It can cause, so if you're having a panic attack, it can affect your physiology. You can be sweating away, your heart is, there's palpitations, all sorts of things going on. So for me, I'd sort of say there's two sort of approaches to dealing with stress and anxiety. The first of it is, your approach itself to a situation that is difficult for you. wherever it may be, whether it's at work or your personal life. You know, like I said before, don't take things personally. You know, if there's a difficult situation, you are not the cause of it. There's usually a bigger picture in play. So by realizing that, you take that anxiety away, you sort of take those feelings of, you know, negative feelings and self-blame away from the situation. So it's not about you. There's a bigger, you know, a bigger picture in play. And often, you know, decisions may sort of affect us, but they do not reflect us. They're not who we are. So become aware of that. Also, I think by being more adaptable to situations, instead of coming from a place of fear or blame, where you're blaming the government, you're blaming the person that didn't give you the job, you're blaming your husband, instead of coming from a place of blame, look at what you need to do to make that difficulty work for you. You know, take away that blame and anger, and you need to have a place of calm so that you can change yourself from the inside out, and you don't make irrational decisions, you don't catastrophize, you don't go to those dark places. You know, you control your internal language and your mindset, you control your emotions from the inside. So all of these things, you know, by doing that, you can, you know, manage difficult situations better. And I'd say that, you know, there's also, I mean, I obviously do NLP, and NLP has a very strong belief, or is one of the fundamental belief, that everything you need to succeed, or all the resources that you need, all the skill sets that you need, anything you need, you have inside of you. It's like a baby when it's born. It's not born with fear or anger. It doesn't have those qualities. They're learnt behaviors. And, you know, so you have that skill set within you. So you've got to learn to, you know, tap into it and really get the best out of yourself. I mean, in the NLP world, we believe that, you know, that we are completely unique. You know, our life experiences are there, and we start with our basic clean slate, and then we come in and we take in messages, we take in experiences using our senses, and we create our own model of our world, or map of our world, as we call it. And this is unique to us. So if we've had a negative belief in our past, or something negative has happened in our past, sometimes that turns into a limiting belief for us, where it ends up holding us back in our lives. So if we can address that root cause and find what is it that's causing these negative behaviors, we can move on and sort of, you know, come from a much more positive mindset. We have all the tools within us. We just need to know how to access them.
And to you both, I think mental health and well-being is such an important topic to be thinking about right now, and it's, I guess, your emotional well-being alongside addressing any anxieties. John, where is a good place to start for that?
In terms of
a kind of emotional well-being for yourself?
I guess the main thing is really good self-care. So I know when we do have a threat or a situation is going on, it can take the forefront of our attention. But it's just having a few different things and keeping the right things in place when that's going on. So good self-care. So not forgetting to do exercise, eating well, speaking to friends. It's so therapeutic to speak to somebody, even if you vent to a really close friend or someone that you know, and you're angry about the situation, or you're frustrated, or you're scared, and you speak to them. Sharing them is such a way to connect, and it's so important that we stay connected in the current climate where we are experiencing a lot more disconnect, because we're hardwired for acceptance and hardwired to connect. So that's really important. And taking the time out as well. It's one of the things that everyone will be saying it. It's, make sure you get rest and make sure you take time out. But it is so important. A couple of years ago, I was working with a client who was really, really stressed and overwhelmed. They were running a business and they felt like they had no time for themselves. Everything was getting on top of them. And I said, oh, do you take any time out, or, do anything to relax? I don't have the time. I can't do it. It was all very panicked. And I set them a challenge to spend 1 hour a day, put their phone, lock it away in a box, and spend an hour with their family, just being present, being relaxed, and just switching everything else off. And it was a real challenge for the first couple of days, but they stuck with it for a week. And they said that by the end of the week, being able to have that time to switch off and be present and relax and spend time with family really gave them a whole new lease of life for their business. So then on the Monday, they didn't go in feeling like it was just another day of this whole cycle. They'd had a break, and then they were excited to go in and start again. And having that downtime is just so important to be able to reset and allow us to perform at our best, because it's a bit like with the decision fatigue and willpower fatigue. Our energy will deplete and it will go down, and especially in times of stress. So finding ways to take time out, even when it is difficult, if you can get out and walk around the block for 15 minutes, it gives your brain time to process everything that's happening, and allow you to come back and reset. So it's really important. And also I think what Raina was talking about was really powerful there, especially that the concept of blame. It's such a big one, because the security isn't having things, it's having things. It was a quote from Susan Jeffers from the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It's a wonderful book about managing fear. Yeah, but she said, so security is not having things, it's handling things. And I think what Raina was really talking about there, which was really powerful, is that we are resourceful. So, we might have a job, but you might lose it. But if we know that we can always get ourselves another one, that's a wonderful place of security to have within ourselves. And it can, I completely get the moment. I mean, I've blamed the situation a lot, this coronavirus. It's a difficult one to accept, but when we can accept that it's happening, there isn't a lot we can do to control that. We can shift from blame into a place of responsibility. And that's where, if we take responsibility and say, well, I'm responsible for my situation, all the stuff in it that I like, that I don't like, then I'm in control to be able to change it. And then it gives us a place of choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And Raina, your thoughts?
Yes, I think, if we can be very aware, the biggest thing for me is realizing and telling everyone you have what you need. You have the skill sets within you. You have the resources within you. Instead of sort of looking outside, look within. Look how you can draw on those resources and really make them work for you. And if you're finding that you're stressed and anxious, as well as doing all the things that John mentioned about being connected with people, getting exercise, looking after your health, as well as that, set a way of managing your stress and anxiety. You can do breathing, meditation, mindfulness, visualization, affirmations, so many things, or even something as simple as just having a screen in front of you and watching the thoughts just float across and disappear. Something as simple as that can help you manage your emotional well-being. And by being emotionally controlled in a state of calm, that helps the rest of your life fall in place, whatever aspect of it is. And so you do have the resources, just learn to tap into them.
Okay, perfect. John, I know you was mentioning as well that the power of the word yet. Tell me a bit about that.
So, one of the things that we will experience, especially when we're experiencing rejection or in difficult situations, is we might get this feeling of, well, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not good enough for this job that I'm going for? And we might hold back a little bit from what we're really capable of. But it's really important to remind ourselves, especially if you're going for a new job or you're pushing yourself to go to a position that you haven't done before, we're always going to get these feelings of, well, maybe I'm not good enough. But if you can extend that to the reality of what we're really feeling is, I'm not good enough yet because I've not done that job yet. So I need to do it in order to build the confidence. And the thing about confidence as well is that confidence is a result, not a requirement. We don't get confidence from just being confident first. We have to go out and do things. If you think of anything in your life right now that you're really confident at, you weren't just born confident at it. You had to go out and practice the skill. Even the most talented people in the world, like Michael Jordan with basketball, yeah, obviously he's really talented, but he never would have been as good if he hadn't put in all the hours and failed as much as he had, and experienced all the setbacks. So it's about realizing that we might not be good enough yet, but we will be once we take the steps. And I think that really links into there's a really powerful book called Mindset, and it started a whole movement of the growth mindset. And having a growth mindset is essentially realizing that everything is a skill. Relationships is a skill. Our career and what we do in it is a skill. And with any skill, anyone can get better at it. So it's not saying that I can go out and be the next Michael Jordan. I'm pretty sure that I can't. But I could probably be a very good basketball player if I wanted to, much better than I am now. So whatever we're doing is a skill. And if we realize it's a skill, it could be interview techniques, going for a higher position, whatever it is that you want to do. If you put in the effort, you do the research and you practice and practice and practice, you can get really, really good at it. There's a phrase, what one man can do, another man can do too. And what one woman can do, another woman can do too. It's what anybody has done, somebody else can do. So it takes away the idea that we need to be good now, that we need to be perfect now, that we need to nail everything now, and realize that this confidence comes as a result of doing it. So I'd look at interviews as every single one you do is just making you better for the next one. Yeah. And it starts to get exciting because you're like, well, yeah, I might really want this position, but if I don't get it, I'm going to gain all this experience to go into the next one. And what I would highly recommend, if you go for a position that you don't get or something doesn't work out, is asking yourself these 3 questions. So question number 1 is, what can I learn? So you might not have got the job, but what can I learn from it? What did I get from that interview? Second is, what did I do well? Because we can be quick to bypass that when things didn't work out. But it might be that you went for something that was like way above qualification level, or perhaps something that you really challenge yourself at. And say, well, I did well because I really pushed myself for something that was really quite difficult and challenging. And last question is, how can I get better for next time? Because then it means that the failures just turn into feedback. So rather than something that just keeps us fixed and keeps us stuck, it's becomes something that springboards us to move forward. So what can I learn? What did I do well? And how can I get better next time? And if we're always looking for the lesson in something, then we are getting better and we're going to be good enough because we're always moving forward.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Love that. Raina, well, you're both hypnotherapists, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So where does hypnotherapy have a place in terms of, I guess, relaxing, calming, refocusing? Raina, could you enlighten us?
Yes. Like we've been discussing, a lot of these situations are based in fear, or a limiting belief of some sort, like we're not good enough, or you know, we're always going to fail, whatever that limiting belief is. So hypnotherapy helps you connect at a subconscious level, because on a conscious level, you may be trying to put strategies in place. You may be trying to, you know, write reams of stuff to get to where you want to, but you're just finding that something is holding you back and you can't touch on what that something is, and you just can't seem to let it go, and it holds you back time and time again. So that's your conscious level. on your subconscious level, that underlying fear can be connected with. So what hypnotherapy does is gets you into a trance, and I don't mean like jump, you know, we don't make you jump through hoops or eat an onion or anything like that. It's a deep state of relaxation where we can connect with your subconscious, connect with those deep resources that I mentioned, and put things in place, that strategies in place in your subconscious level, which will help you in your, you know, when you come out, and you bring those out with you, and you put, you know, they're there in the back of your mind, not in the back of your mind, in your subconscious, working for you. So when you go into a situation, you're no longer feeling that sense of loss or sense of fear or whatever it is that you're experiencing. So it's two levels. On a conscious level, you've got your logical mind working and thinking, I can do this, I can't do that, whatever. Subconsciously, you know, your mind doesn't know, you know, it has everything that you need. So hypnotherapy connects you with that side and makes you come up stronger.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Raina. We have had a question, thank you. And the question is for John. It's, who is the writer of The Growth Mindset?
Oh, it's a lady called Carol Dweck. I think her surname's spelled D-W-E-C-K.
Okay.
I think she's a professor at Stanford University.
Thank you for your question, and please, anyone that's watching, don't hesitate to ask if there is anything you'd like to know from today's session. So we're going to move on now to talking about the decision fatigue again, John, if you don't mind, because I think this is a really important subject, particularly for the type of situations that people might have today with job hunting. So when it comes to that, it might actually be a case that, fortunately, hopefully, you might have two offers, and it might be a decision in terms of which one to go for, which one's going to suit me better. Tell us a bit about what the process is in terms of making sure these decisions don't take hold, I guess.
So there's a couple of different types of decisions. So there's the small decisions that we make each day, which is what I'm going to wear, what I'm going to eat. These really aren't that important. So it's just making them, getting used to making them, and having them planned out in advance. The big decisions, like which job I'm going to go for, which job should I apply for, perhaps, these are the bigger decisions, and so they will take a bit more time. First off is to realize the point that there are no bad decisions. There are the thing that stops people when making decisions is that there's decision one, decision two, and it's either right or wrong. And that's quite a scary place to be, because it means you've got a 50% chance of making the wrong decision. So rather than seeing it as right or wrong, just see it as choice A and choice B. I can go down this route, or I can go down this route. And they both are going to give me a different experience. And when you look back over your life experiences, you'll realize that you needed to go down all the paths you did to get to where you are. So everything's happening perfectly. So when you've got a decision, take that stress out of it of having to get it right, and just make the best decision with the information you have. What I really recommend doing, which is really, really useful when you are in a situation, perhaps you've got two jobs that you've applied for and they both said yes, I mean, that would be a great situation to be in, is write down a list of all the pros and cons for each job. And doing it on paper is also really, really effective, because when stuff's in our head, it's muddled. When it's on paper, it's clear, we can see it. It is really, really impactful. So put them both down, write a list of all the pros and all the cons of each, and then you can really look at it and take a step back. You can even ask somebody that you're friends with, or perhaps somebody who's in the industry that for some advice on that, and say, well, what would you do? And take on board their information. It's all more stuff that can help you make an empowered decision, but definitely take away the idea that it's either right or wrong, and just look at two choices.
Okay. Yeah, brilliant. Raina, what about any kind of techniques that we're thinking about in terms of how to relax, whether it be ahead of an interview or any kind of scenario that it might be helpful for someone to, we talked about obviously the breathing, but is there anything else you could mention on that?
I think the visualization is definitely a powerful one. Visualizing, you know, what's going on for you, you know, now, and what is what you envisage is going to happen in the actual interview. And if there's any fears in that, just visualizing a color, brightness, positivity into that. How you choose to visualize is up to you, however you feel comfortable doing it. It can be by putting someone, perhaps you've got someone that you really admire, and you think, you know, they've got everything they need, they're so smart, you know, they'd be brilliant in this interview. So visualizing what they would say to you, you know, what do you need to do in that interview that is going to get you to sail through it? And, you know, and knowing also that, you know, you have got everything you need. So the only thing that's stopping you is your negative self-talk. So take your negative, if you take that negative self-talk out, what does it leave? It just leaves pure resources, pure confidence and self-worth and everything you need, the techniques, the skill sets that you have already. All you have to do is go out there and show someone, actually, I've got these. You know, look at me, I've got these, I can do this job, I can nail this. So project that into your visualization, and then you'll find it's much easier in the actual interview when you go the next day. You can, like I said, breathing, what else? If you want, you can do like a muscle relaxation exercise, where you sort of just close your eyes. And if you lie down, that's great. If not, then just imagine the muscle groups from the forehead downwards, just beginning to, you know, tense them up and then relax them, tense them up and relax them. And also visualize a color of calm, whatever that calmness color is for you. Just imagine that passing down from the crown of your head, down your forehead and down your body, all the way, filling all your muscles, your vessels, everything with a color of calm, down to the tips of your toes. And just watch your breathing, and just, like I said, use a square or rectangular breathing just to help your body relax. So all of those things can help towards, you know, the interview the next day.
Very good. Okay. We've covered a lot. There's some things that I just want to pick up on from what we've talked about today, just to kind of remind everyone. Certainly the things that I've thought were fantastic. Obviously we've got the breathing, which Raina's just talked about. Failures to feedback, love that, John. And tools to challenge as well. We talked about goal setting and the importance of that. The planning your day, I definitely think works, and I think is really helpful in terms of eliminating anything else to think about that we just don't need to add to the list for the next day. And then also what Raina was talking about in terms of imagining success and really visualizing it and believing it. Drop us a comment if you're finding this useful, and you're feeling really positive and super motivated. Let me know. But as we are drawing towards the end, as we always do, we are going to finish with our top takeaways. And this is the most important thing that we feel to leave you with for the session. So Raina, can I start with you?
Yeah, sure. I think the most important thing for me is you know, if anyone is holding you back, it's you. If you just become aware that you have everything you need, you have every skill, confidence, self-esteem, you have everything you need within you, you know, just be aware of that and just start to fine-tune that and shift your focus towards what is good about you instead of focusing on the negatives. And then once you know that, start putting things in place calmly, without blame, and, you know, and put things in place that will work for you. Think what will work for me in this situation? What will, you know, without the stress, without the anxiety, what in this situation do I need to do to make this situation work in my favor? So that's what I'd say.
Perfect, thank you. And John?
So a few takeaways. One is just make sure you've got things planned out so that it can give you that base level of security of like, I know what I'm doing tomorrow. Or if you've got an interview that you prepped the night before and you feel like you've got a little bit of clarity on what's going on ahead, then definitely just see things. This whole situation is a challenge. It's something that will allow you to grow. It will allow you to get more confident and more resilient as you go through it. So see it as a challenge that you can go forward and attack and move into. Because when we step into situations that are challenging and we make the decision to step in, so much more powerful than when we're kind of being dragged or forced into it. So making that decision to move into it is also really powerful. So it's a situation that you can grow from. And the last bit I'd leave you with is, imagine you've got to think of yourself as a salesman, especially when it comes to going into a job search. You're selling yourself, and it starts with ourselves. So we've got to sell ourselves on this challenge. Why do we want to take on this challenge? How's it going to benefit me? How am I going to be a better person once I go out there and I make this happen for myself? And it's selling ourselves. And once we're convinced that we can do it, then we can go in, and it's about sharing the best version of yourself with the people that you're in front of. So we've all got flaws, you know, mistakes and imperfections, and they're all part of making us us. And that's absolutely great, and embrace them. And as you go in, just share the things that are your best attributes. What are you best at? What are you good at? What value do you provide? Because as you start to answer these questions and lean into it, you'll really see how much value you have, and how much other people can benefit from that too. And from that place, I think this can be a really fun challenge for people.
Thank you. And I know, John, you have got a handout that is available on our website. And within that, you are putting out an offer. Tell us about it.
I do, yeah, have a brief offer. So I've put a handout with a few of the points from today. It's got my email on there. So if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to drop me a note on anything that we've spoken about today. And I will be offering three sessions for the first 3 people that drop me a message to help plan out a strategy for your job search, or perhaps create some clarity on a block that you might be having or a challenge moving into this situation. So we can take a look at that and see if we can free you up to move on. So there'll be 3 free strategy sessions for the first 3 people that drop me a note.
Perfect.
It's really tough to say 3 free.
And Raina, I think you're working on a handout as well, aren't you?
Well, it's a simple offer. It's a free consultation to discuss, you know, what your issues are that holding you back, and how I can help, how I work as a NLP life coach and hypnotherapist, and how that will help to relieve it. And then if you decide to go ahead, which I know you will, there'll be the first 3 people, there's a 10% discount of the packages that I'll offer.
Perfect. Well, we really hope you have found this helpful today. Before we go, is there anything either of you haven't covered that you wanted to get across today, or are you happy?
Happy.
Happy?
Yeah, no, I think I'm happy. I think some of the points about the meditation and hypnotherapy are definitely very useful tools.
Yes.
To help get into a relaxed state of mind. You know, meditation is focusing on the breath or whatever it is that you want to focus on, and creating that calm, that space to reset and move forward. And hypnotherapy is like meditation with a goal. It's relaxation with a goal as well. And just creating that space of calm in amongst everything that's going on can be really powerful to help you see the world in a way that's going to help.
Fantastic.
And there is one other thing, Hayley, as well, is sort of positive affirmations about yourself. So I am, you know, like some people find those useful. You can find them on YouTube, or you can create your own. So I am strong, I am creative, I am whatever it is that you want to be. By repeating those in a relaxed state, that can also help you prepare for any situation, or it can help you relax. So if you're stressed, so you know they're useful to try out as well. like I am, whatever, I am brilliant, I'm intelligent, I'm going to nail this interview, whatever it is that you need to do. So they're a very useful tool as well.
Well, if you're not feeling positive after that, it's been an absolutely fantastic session, and we wish you all the very best of luck with your job search. And we will see you soon. And thank you so much to you both. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. It's been great speaking to you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.